Like, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, Kellen Moore really shouldn't be here. He should have been at Boise State. And it's kind of annoying because you've had this guy since 2019. You've had this guy since the previous coaching staff. And it appears that you have the exact same kind of philosophy, but it feels a little bit worse than that. And you might be saying, well, Space, how is that? Well, as you know, Kellen Moore played for the Cowboys as a backup quarterback. He started a couple games, and then he transitions to becoming a quarterback coach. He then gets elevated to becoming an offensive coordinator in just literally 1 year, basically, of experience. You sign you fire Scott Linehan. What do? You bring the guy that has only 1 year of coaching experience. And anybody be saying, Space, he's a smart guy. And I said this, like, listen, I think he's smart, in the sense of him understanding the game, but in terms of the pacing, in terms of that coaching element that needs to be wired in with your ability to process the game, that's something I don't think he's developed yet, and I don't know if he will develop that. That's not saying the guy's stupid, it's just, when you go to work, right, like, you might be the smartest guy, like, and know everything, but it's about putting the pieces together and actually doing it in the field is where you'll get judged on, and that's the problem, and that's where I think my issue lies in with Kellen Moore, is that not only does he lack that, it feels like he'll do something that works, and he goes away from that. Or he gets challenged, and he just gets into a shell, and he's like, I just can't do it. And you had Kellen Moore say, if guys can't cut down on pre-snap penalties, someone else needs to play. What's funny about that is because if you believe that, now keep in mind, he is not the the head coach. And I get it, like, he might get annoyed. And yeah, I would get annoyed with the pre-snap penalties, but that's your group. And you draw up these plays. And then you have Joe Philbin that's out there. Now, is Joe Philbin his responsibility? Technically, yes, but that's all Mike McCarthy. And so I go to the front office again because, think about it. When Mike McCarthy was hired here, he had to keep Kellen Moore as his offensive coordinator, okay? And, you kind of looked at it and it was like, okay, well, Kellen's not doing terribly given the circumstances, but it really feels as if, like, he doesn't have anything more to his game. It feels like he got trained in that Scott Linehan, Jason Garrett mold that has been around probably since 2000, I'm going to say 2007. Like, we've had the same offense since 2007. And that's a problem. Like, you cannot effectively run a team like that. And, if you can get, so, like, and this is the part that kind of annoys me, is that Mike McCarthy, right, was willing to fire his friend and Mike Nolan because that defense sucked ass. And, they drudged with him for the entire year and they got someone else in here. But with Kellen Moore, they have this protection because, and I think a lot of you might know it, listen, he's the Joneses handpicked guy. Like, listen, he's like the golden child for them. If they have an opportunity to elevate him to head coach and they can do it in a way where it makes sense, yeah, like with Jason Garrett, and I say this, Jason Garrett, what allowed him to move into that spot was because in those years from 07 to 09, offensively speaking, the Cowboys were good. And so the team was like, well, we let go of we let Sean Payton go. We feel like we can get that same kind of guy here, and you have this, young hotshot coach at the time in Jason Garrett. But now, like, I don't want that. If you promote Kellen Moore to be your head coach, which I don't think is going to happen given the circumstances, that's a problem, man. And that's like a big vibe check, and it's like, nope, not dealing with that anymore. So another thing is that you had a guy in Devin White come out and say publicly, listen, we knew what the Cowboys were doing offensively. They talk all this talk about how they're going to run the football, and they're like, yeah, we know they're not going to run the football anymore. That's a bad thing. And now you have CeeDee Lamb getting frustrated now. We've had Cooper get frustrated. We've had Dez get frustrated. We've had plenty of individuals get frustrated with the play calling, especially the wide receivers. And I don't blame them. Like, listen, man. Like, you need to give these guys more routes to run. And you can blame them for the poor performances too, and that's fine. But again, this common denominator is that Kellen Moore just ain't it. And I understand that many people are like, listen, man, you got to give Kellen some time. You know, it's not his fault that the team played bad. But you're a coach, and you have a job to put your team in the best... Like, when you go back and watch the film, right, yes, there are moments where you miss out on plays because your offensive line doesn't do its job, your quarterback makes terrible throws, your running back doesn't take the right hole, all that stuff, right? But if it's like I can go watch the film and see a play where it's like a 3rd and 11 and no one's open, and the way you're trying to get an open receiver is bland, that's on you. That is not on my players, because if I can see that, okay, here's the design of the play, my quarterback missed this guy running up the sideline and that the play was drawn that way, that's one thing, and that happens sometimes. If it's like, all right, I literally, like for example, in the Seattle game a couple years back, there was a play where it was like you had 2-3 guys just stay at the line of scrimmage on this like double play. Like, it was like, what the hell are we doing? And that's the vibe I'm getting with Kellen Moore, and that worries me, because if you decide, right, let's just think in the long term. Let's say McCarthy's gone, right, and you elevate Dan Quinn, or hell, screw it, promote Kellen Moore. What good is it to you to have this guy still around? Like, Sean Payton, if you decide to bring him in, is going to be like, listen, give me my guys and stay the fuck out of the way. If you bring in Dan Quinn, listen, if Kellen Moore is here after this year is over, that's a big, big problem. And I think that, you know, like, if Kellen Moore was a bit more decent with the play calling, I would see people clamoring, hey, make Kellen the head coach, or hey, Kellen's being told what to do. But the thing is, right, and this is kind of where I kind of disagree with that, or you can ponder on your own will. You had a situation. You were averaging 5.2 yards per carry with Zeke, right? 10 carries, 52 yards, and you got away from that. Why? You know, like, you were all big on running the football, and just stick to that. Like, I guarantee you, if the Cowboys run the ball, they probably are in a much better situation. Maybe they're able to pass the ball more effectively, and that's the problem. You can't, like, it's a two-headed sword. I'm all about passing the football, but I am also of the belief, do what works. If the running game's working, there is no incentive for you to keep passing it if it's not working. That doesn't mean you don't pass at all. But, like, you keep doing it until it stops working. And that's where I look at Kellen Moore, and it's like, he has his priorities wrong. It looks like there's no creativity anymore. Like, sure, initially when Kellen was here, it looked like, okay, maybe we got something, but nothing has evolved past that. Usually what happens is that play callers, and you guys probably know this, play callers will evolve as they go on. As they get more experience, they will add more wrinkles into their game. They won't revert to old things, or maybe they do. I can't tell you there, but Kellen hasn't evolved at all. And you could, and I've said this, hey, McCarthy as the head coach needs to be like, listen, motherfucker, this is my team. I'm the head coach here. Give me the goddamn playbook. I'm calling plays. Or, you know, hey, listen, Kellen, I need to sit down with you. I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but McCarthy has no incentive for that. He knew what he was getting into when he came to Dallas, and now he could lose his job. So if I'm him, just say, fuck it. Take the play calling from Kellen. Because he's going to ruin the season given the circumstance. And we won't know until all the players that are hurt come back. So let's say in 4 to 5 weeks we get every offensive player back and this offense still looks like shit. Oh, we got a problem, Kellen, and he's got to go. I can't tell you that it would be so damn annoying if the Cowboys sit there and be like, you know what, guys? We're okay. Let's keep Kellen Moore. I really felt like the best thing for this team would have been letting Kellen go to Boise State, and you just roll with that. Because I'm just flabbergasted at how he calls these gadget plays and kills momentum because of how shitty they are. Like, dude, you shouldn't be doing gadget plays on the first drive of the fucking game. You shouldn't be doing gadget plays at all, to be honest with you, unless the vibe and the flow of the game permit it. Right? Like, let's say we were up like 17-3 and like we got a good vibe going. Of course, I'm like, don't do anything. But if you want to try something, okay, that's fine. But if you notice your offense is kind of getting out of rhythm, you got to change that in-game. And sometimes I feel like he just doesn't do that. And now we've had 2 head coaches where they have said the same thing. Listen, I'm not calling the plays. I'm not making the plays. That's the offensive coordinator. That's his responsibility. And so a lot of us, and even myself, I'm like, yeah, wow, Garrett, you threw him under the bus. But now it's like, what's the point? Like, it really feels like there was no point in letting go of Jason Garrett if you were going to keep pushing the same type of offense. And that's where we need to seriously keep an eye out. And I want everybody to keep an eye out on this offense as it's back, because, and I'm going to get more infuriated if this happens. If he starts simplifying the offense, we get Dak back, and he wants to do all this exotic shit. Fuck that. You know, you got to tell, listen, not only does Kellen have to do his part, I think, because him and Dak are friends, and yeah, there's a relationship there that you want to make sure is healthy, because if you don't want your quarterback to get scrumped, but I don't like this corporate, like, buddy-buddy shit. Kellen needs to coach Dak Harden. Be like, Dak, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you got to get on him for that. And I think that's what makes Dak better. That's why when you had a guy like John, like, comparing quarterback coaches, Dak didn't look, and that's not his fault, you know, back then, because if you recall, you had such a shitty wide receiving core that no one was going to do shit with that. And then here we are, and people are like, ah, Space Cowboy, like, it's his fault, it's this, that, and the third. But, like, if you start calling plays differently with Kellen, or excuse me, with Cooper Rush, why can't you do the same thing with Dak? Dak, no, we're not running the football here. We're passing her. Dak, you're going to run the fucking football. Or you just got to be like, listen, Dak, you have free reign. Don't listen. You have, listen, call whatever plays at the line you want to do. And that's another thing, too. And these are important things to talk about. Because if Kellen is not going to offensively evolve, you need to get someone else in here. I've clamored for Mike Kafka to come in. I've clamored for plenty of other individuals to come in here. And, you know, a lot of the guys that I would liked got hired, and I'm not shocked. And this is an issue. Kellen Moore is probably going to stay, but if he goes, you need to bring someone in here that can do their own thing. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that, whatever the hell, whatever you want to do. And I'll catch you guys later.